Did you know that over 35,000 Australians left major cities in the past year alone? And the number is climbing fast? Rising crime, unaffordable rents, and extreme weather are just the beginning. Once thriving cities are becoming unlivable. And if you're living in one of them, 2026 might be too late to escape the impact. Shocking? It should be. Imagine waking up one day and realizing your dream city is turning against you. Your rent's doubled, the jobs are gone, and the once calm beach town is now at constant risk of flooding. Sounds like a nightmare? For thousands, it's already real. And yet, many still don't see what's coming next. In this countdown, we're revealing the 10 Australian cities you must consider leaving before 2026. Some may surprise you, others will shock you. But one thing is certain, you won't look at these cities the same way again. Number 10. Hobart. At first glance, Hobart looks like a peaceful escape, stunning waterfront views, historic charm, and a slower pace of life. But behind the postcard-perfect facade, this Tasmanian capital is facing a quiet crisis that's pushing locals out and keeping newcomers on edge. Over the last 5 years, Hobart's housing prices have skyrocketed by more than 60%, making it the least affordable city in Australia relative to income. Yes, even beating out Sydney in that category. For many residents, the dream of owning a home or even renting comfortably has turned into a daily financial struggle. Wages haven't kept pace, and young professionals are fleeing in search of stability. And it's not just the housing. Hobart's economy heavily leans on a few sectors like tourism, healthcare, and education. But during off-peak seasons or downturns, job opportunities become scarce. If you're in tech, media, or even just looking for diverse employment options, you'll likely feel trapped. Add to that the increasing strain on infrastructure, and Hobart's peaceful image begins to crack. Roads are outdated, public transport is limited, and even basic internet connectivity can be patchy in many suburbs. A serious concern for remote workers and digital professionals. It's the kind of city you fall in love with on vacation and struggle to survive in long term. Unless you're financially secure or retired, Hobart may no longer be the hidden gem it once was, but rather a beautiful trap with fewer ways out. Number 9. Darwin. Darwin might seem like a tropical dream. Sun-drenched coastlines, laid-back lifestyle, and a strong sense of community. But beneath the sunshine, life in the top end is getting tougher by the day. What was once marketed as a land of opportunity is now facing an exodus, especially among young workers and families. Let's start with the climate extremes. Darwin doesn't just get hot. It gets oppressively hot and humid, with average wet season temperatures soaring past 35 degrees Celsius and humidity levels reaching over 80%. That's not just uncomfortable, it's exhausting and unhealthy, especially for children and the elderly. Add in rising sea levels and more frequent extreme weather events, and it's clear. Darwin is on the climate front lines. Economically, Darwin's job market is unstable at best. While government and defence jobs offer some security, the private sector remains narrow and volatile. Tourism took a major hit during global downturns, and many small businesses never bounced back. Skilled workers are finding it harder to secure stable, long-term employment. And when they do, the pay often doesn't match the cost of living. Speaking of costs, Darwin ranks among the most expensive cities in Australia for groceries, utilities, and basic services. Combine that with isolation from the rest of the country, and everyday life starts to feel restricted and overpriced. Many residents report feeling cut off, not just geographically, but economically and socially. Darwin still has its charm, but as the pressure mounts, more people are quietly packing up and heading south before the heat becomes unbearable, literally and financially. Number 8. Adelaide. Adelaide has long been praised for its festivals, food scene, and relaxed lifestyle. It's often marketed as an underrated gem, affordable, peaceful, and family-friendly. But if you look a little closer, you'll see a city that's quietly slipping into stagnation, especially for younger generations trying to build a future. The biggest red flag? A sluggish economy. While other capitals are evolving into innovation hubs, Adelaide has struggled to diversify beyond its traditional industries. Manufacturing jobs have disappeared, and while there's talk of tech growth, the reality on the ground feels slow and limited. For many graduates and professionals, Adelaide offers fewer career paths and limited upward mobility. It's no surprise that many leave for Sydney or Melbourne shortly after finishing their studies. Unemployment among youth in Adelaide remains consistently above the national average. And with a rapidly aging population, the city is becoming less dynamic, less innovative, and increasingly reliant on health and aged care services to keep the wheels turning. Housing is still relatively affordable for now, but demand is creeping up as interstate buyers see it as a cheaper option, slowly pushing prices beyond what locals can comfortably manage. And the pace of infrastructure development hasn't kept up. Public transport remains underwhelming, and digital infrastructure lags behind larger cities, making it a tough choice for remote workers and tech professionals. Adelaide isn't falling apart. It's falling behind. And that quiet, creeping decline is often harder to notice until you're stuck in it. For anyone with big ambitions, this charming city might just become a frustrating cage. Number 7. Gold Coast. To millions of tourists, the Gold Coast is a dream destination. Golden beaches, glitzy high-rises, and surf-friendly waves. But behind the shimmering skyline lies a city at risk, grappling with issues that could make living here a costly mistake by 2026. Let's start with the climate. Gold Coast is increasingly exposed to rising sea levels, coastal erosion, and extreme weather events. In fact, scientists have warned that entire suburbs could be at risk of frequent flooding within the next decade. Insurance premiums are already soaring, and for many homeowners, policies are becoming unaffordable or unavailable altogether. Owning property here may soon be more liability than luxury. Then there's the housing crisis. Rents have surged nearly 40% since 2020, and property prices are no longer coastal affordable. Locals are being priced out, with long-time residents competing against short-term investors and Airbnb operators. The city's popularity is becoming its downfall. Tourism is thriving, but locals are struggling to stay. Job opportunities outside of hospitality and tourism are limited. If you're not in those sectors or working remotely with a good salary, finding fulfilling, stable work can be an uphill battle. And with traffic congestion growing and public transport lagging behind population growth, everyday commuting can be frustrating. The Gold Coast may still glitter from afar, but for many who live there, the shine is fading. As one local put it, it's paradise for visitors, but survival for residents. If you're thinking long-term, this coastal dream might not be worth the rising risks. Number 6. Launceston. Launceston might charm you at first glance. Rolling green hills, historic buildings, and that slower, peaceful rhythm of life. But dig a little deeper, and you'll discover why more residents are reconsidering their future in this quaint Tasmanian town. What feels like a well-kept secret today may become an unlivable backwater tomorrow. One of Launceston's biggest challenges is infrastructure, or lack of it. Despite its growing population, the city still struggles with patchy internet, limited public transport, and outdated roads. For digital nomads, creatives, or anyone who relies on tech to work remotely, this town can feel like it's stuck in the 1990s. A simple video call? Not guaranteed. Healthcare services are also under growing pressure. With a rise in retirees moving in and an aging local population, medical facilities are becoming overstretched, and wait times for critical services are increasing. This poses a serious issue for families and the elderly alike. Economically, Launceston offers limited job diversity. Apart from hospitality, agriculture, and local government, the options are slim. High-skilled professionals often find themselves underemployed or forced to commute long distances or even relocate. While housing is still more affordable than mainland cities, that advantage is shrinking fast as mainland buyers flood in, inflating prices and squeezing out locals. In short, Launceston is beautiful, but brittle. If you're looking to build a future with career growth, tech accessibility, and reliable services, it may not hold up. For many, the dream of Tasmanian peace is clashing with a harsh and isolating reality. Number 5. Newcastle. Once a proud industrial powerhouse, Newcastle has transformed into a trendy coastal city with modern cafes, sleek apartments, and oceanfront living. But that transformation has come at a steep cost, and residents are starting to feel it. What was once an affordable alternative to Sydney is now choking on its own growth. Over the past few years, property prices in Newcastle have surged by more than 60%, and rents aren't far behind. What's driving this? A flood of Sydney-based buyers and investors looking for cheaper property, turning Newcastle into a real estate gold rush. But while prices climb, wages in the region remain relatively stagnant, leading to an uncomfortable truth. Locals are being priced out of their own city. The job market hasn't diversified as quickly as the skyline. Many residents still rely on a narrow range of industries, including healthcare, education, and trades. For young professionals, creatives, and tech workers, the city offers limited upward mobility and few high-growth sectors. Remote work? Better have your own setup, because public infrastructure hasn't caught up with demand. Public transport is often unreliable, congestion is growing, and development projects frequently outpace planning. Locals report feeling like Newcastle is becoming Sydney light, without the perks. Newcastle's charm is fading under the weight of gentrification and cost of living pressures. Unless you're arriving with cash in hand, you might find yourself wondering if you're building a life, or just surviving in someone else's investment portfolio. We put a lot of heart into researching and creating this for you. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below with the city you'd leave first and why. We read every one. And hey, hitting subscribe takes 1 second, but it means the world to us. Om. Number 4. Townsville. Nestled along Queensland's northeast coast, Townsville offers sunshine, beaches, and access to the Great Barrier Reef. But beneath that postcard-perfect setting lies a city increasingly battered by financial strain and environmental threats. And for many residents, the cost of staying is becoming too high. Townsville is in a high-risk cyclone zone, and the impacts are becoming harder to ignore. In just the past few years, the region has experienced flooding disasters that damaged thousands of homes and forced mass evacuations. And while natural disasters are part of life in northern Queensland, what's changed is the skyrocketing cost of insurance. Home insurance in Townsville can now be 2 to 3 times higher than in southern cities, if you can even get coverage at all. These extreme weather events are taking a toll on infrastructure too. Roads, drainage, and public facilities are constantly under pressure, and rebuilding efforts often lag behind. That instability has led many families and retirees to quietly move south, where they feel their investment and their safety are more secure. Economically, Townsville struggles with high unemployment and limited job opportunities outside the public sector. The city has tried to position itself as a defence and education hub, but many skilled workers still leave due to a lack of private sector growth and long-term prospects. Townsville has beauty, but also brutal risks, both environmental and economic. As one resident said, "It's like living on a timer. You never know when the next big hit will come." For those looking to plant roots, Townsville may not offer the stability or security they need. Number 3. Canberra. Canberra, Australia's capital city, is often seen as clean, organised, and politically powerful. With wide roads, low crime rates, and high average incomes, it sounds like the perfect place to settle down. But beneath this polished image lies a city facing a slow-burning identity crisis, and more residents are starting to feel it. For one, Canberra is overwhelmingly dependent on government jobs. Over 40% of the workforce is directly or indirectly linked to the public sector. While this offers short-term security, it also creates a dangerous lack of economic diversity. When hiring freezes hit or departments downsize, entire families feel the impact. And if you're not in the policy or defence space, finding meaningful, high-paying work can be tough. Then there's the cost of living. Canberra now rivals Sydney and Melbourne in terms of housing affordability pressures. Rents have surged in recent years, and property prices continue to climb, pricing out young professionals and first-home buyers. Despite its image as a planned city, growth hasn't been matched with affordability. Culturally, some residents report feeling isolated or creatively stifled. Canberra's quiet charm often becomes monotony, especially for younger generations seeking vibrant, dynamic experiences. And while the city has grown, public transport remains limited, especially outside of inner districts. Canberra may be safe and predictable, but for many, it's also becoming rigid and restrictive. If you're not building a government career or sitting on real estate, the capital can quickly feel like a cul-de-sac for ambition. Wide roads, but nowhere to go. Number 2. Perth. Perth, the sun-soaked capital of Western Australia, is often praised for its beaches, space, and laid-back vibe. But for all its natural beauty, Perth is a city grappling with geographic isolation and an economy tied to boom or bust cycles. And that combo is making it harder for many to stick around. Let's start with the distance. Perth is often called the most isolated major city on Earth. And it's not just a fun fact. That isolation translates into higher prices, slower supply chains, and fewer opportunities across industries. Flights to and from other cities are expensive, and for businesses and professionals who rely on national connectivity, it can feel like being cut off from the rest of the country. Then there's the economic roller coaster. Perth's economy is heavily reliant on the mining and resource sector. During booms, jobs flood in and wages skyrocket. But when global demand dips, the economy shrinks rapidly, leaving thousands unemployed almost overnight. It's a cycle that has left many families chasing short-term contracts and constantly relocating just to stay afloat. For those in creative industries, media, or tech, job markets are limited. Many young professionals end up leaving for Melbourne or Sydney, seeking broader horizons and more diverse opportunities. Housing prices have climbed again in recent years, and while still cheaper than Sydney, the rise is putting pressure on new buyers. Public transport remains limited, and sprawl adds to long commute times. Perth offers peace and sunshine, but it comes at the cost of career growth, stability, and connection. For many, it's a city that feels more like a pause than a path forward. Number 1. Sydney. Sydney, Australia's crown jewel. A global city with iconic views, world-class beaches, and endless opportunity. Or so it seems. But behind the glossy skyline and opera house selfies, Sydney is in crisis, and thousands are already on their way out. If you're thinking long-term, it might be time to ask, is Sydney still livable? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, cost of living. Sydney has one of the most unaffordable housing markets in the world. The median house price has soared past $1.5 million, and rent increases have outpaced wage growth for years. For many young Australians, the dream of home ownership here is just that, a dream. Even dual-income families are feeling the squeeze. But it's not just about housing. Everyday essentials, groceries, childcare, transportation are all more expensive in Sydney than in most other Australian cities. Congestion is a daily battle. Public transport is overcrowded, and commute times continue to rise. Add to that a growing sense of burnout. Sydney's intense pace, competitive job market, and lack of affordable living is eroding quality of life. Mental health professionals are seeing spikes in urban anxiety, while families are increasingly moving to regional towns in search of peace, space, and financial relief. Ironically, Sydney, once seen as the pinnacle of success, is now a symbol of survival. It still sparkles, yes. But many are realizing that living in Sydney means sacrificing too much. As one lifelong resident said, "I used to work hard to live here. Now I work to escape." Australia is changing, fast. The cities we once called safe, affordable, and full of opportunity are now facing serious challenges. From climate threats and economic instability to rising living costs and housing crises, these aren't just future problems. They're happening right now. And the people living in these cities are feeling the pressure every day. Whether it's the hidden struggles of Hobart, the extreme weather in Townsville, or the crushing cost of life in Sydney, one thing is clear: staying informed is no longer optional. It's survival. Knowing when to leave or when to rethink your next move could be the difference between thriving and just trying to keep your head above water. But this isn't about fear. It's about awareness and action. If your city made this list, don't panic. Use this as a wake-up call to reevaluate your priorities, your finances, and your long-term plans. And if you made it this far, you're already ahead of the game. Yay!